so peaceful. Hey, let's start with the garden tour. So this is my little 1000 square foot garden. I call it my big yard for my tiny home because my home is about half that size. So in comparison, the yard's pretty big. But otherwise, it's a manageable size. And what I'd like to do today is just do a tour, an overview of what the garden looks like. So I'm going to start with here. This is my little entrance area where I've set up a portable greenhouse. It's a vertical greenhouse and I use it for growing seedlings and also as a storage space for some of the smaller items in the garden. Just keeps the place uncluttered. Next to that, I'm growing cilantro. This whole space was actually a cilantro patch, but then I realized I was growing way too much cilantro. I didn't need all that space. So I decided to move most of the cilantro to just keep it to one side. And as you can see, it's growing really well. It's got blooms popping up. And I've put some cilantro seeds at the back to help with the new wave of cilantro plants, but it sometimes seeds itself as well. This space is where my water hose connection is, and I have some gardening tools here that I'm using. Otherwise they are stored inside the trash closet. I've also added some hanging baskets to the garden this year. But a lot of stuff that you're going to see in the video today has been here for the last 2 years. Every year I add some more things just to spruce the space up and to create some more growing space. So this is a bed that I had created last year and I grew here beans and other things. This year I started with peas and they are doing pretty well. There are even some pea pods there that I have begun to harvest. This is in the shade, so it's producing pea pods a little bit later than some of the other spots in the garden that I'm using for growing peas, but that also means that I'll have a slightly longer season for harvesting peas, which I do use a lot in my cooking. I've put down beans here and they're beginning to pop up, but I do have a lot of squirrels that come and visit this garden and they tend to dig the soil up, and sometimes they even pull up some bean seeds, as you can see here, but that's okay. I still get plenty of beans. I try to use every corner I can. So there's a grow bag here. It's a potato plant that for some reason wasn't doing well, so I removed it from the other potato plants just so that it wouldn't transfer if it's diseased or something, but it seems to be coming back. Then I have a little seating area here. There's a table, a swing hammock set, this little fire pit slash growing space that I have created where I am growing a lot of plants. So there's Puna Khira, which is a variety of Indian cucumber, and some basil, marigolds on the side, and a bunch of other things. And these are planters where I have some volunteer bean plants that have sprouted up and they're looking pretty happy there, so I just let them be. On either side of this little fire pit growing space, I have 2 compost bins. This is one that I put in last year, and that's the older one that I had put in 2 years ago. And I have planted rosemary and oregano on this side and this side as well. But as you can see, the rosemary and oregano plants on this side are doing a lot better. And I think that has something to do with the fact that there's 2-year-old compost right next to it that they have access to. So that's probably their roots are in really rich, nutritious soil right now. Some more hanging baskets. It's one of my fur babies. Alrighty, let's go on with the garden tour. As you can see, I've covered pretty much the entire garden with a thick layer of wood chips, and that acts as mulch. It also creates a nice surface. There's no grass, so I don't have to mow anything. I save a lot of money because I've never had to mow any grass in my yard in the last 3 growing seasons, including this one. And I'm able to then create these spaces with the cinder blocks that are edging the entire yard that I use for additional growing space. And there's my other fur baby, Pari. Hi, Pari. I'm growing a lot of herbs as well. So this entire section is actually devoted to herbs. This is a sage, purple sage plant, one of the oldest plants that I'd put in this space. So it's about almost since early 2018. So this is its 3rd year, and it was an itty bitty tiny little plant when I first put in there, and it's just exploded. No fertilizers, no additional nutrients, just a mulched soil cover, and a lot of earthworms under the mulch that are providing all the nutrients that these plants need. I have this outer section of the yard that's devoted entirely to herbs. So I have the purple basil, but I also have this rosemary that tends to spread out, and then I have oregano, thyme. Let's see if I can get some more of these in. Variegated sage, some more thyme in the background, and a bunch of other things. My plan is that eventually this entire space will get covered with shrub-like herbs, and then I think it'll look really pretty. I have some sweet potato that I'm growing for the first time ever in my life in a grow bag. And this is from a sweet potato I got from the store, and that had sprouted. So I just saw some YouTube videos and figured out how to grow stuff, how to grow sweet potatoes. So this is sort of an experiment. It's beginning to vine, so it's sending forth these vines, and my plan is to eventually move them against a fence so that they have room to spread out vertically instead of covering the ground area, which is a little bit on a premium here. This is my thyme that has gone to flower, and it's so pretty because it's producing these star-like flowers, and they just look breathtaking. They're just breathtaking. In the mornings when I come down here, it's just so nice to be able to see all of this. There's more thyme, another variety that's sort of interspersed with the first one. And again, these were all little plants that I got from the nursery 2 years ago. And when I put them in, they just exploded. The same story with this lavender. It's gone a little bonkers. This is new this year. I put in chives, and I've been harvesting chives and chive blossoms. This is a melon that I had put in. I got it from the store as a baby plant, and it seems to finally be taking off. I have a whole series of grow bags here, and they're filled with, again, potatoes that had gone to seed. Some of the bags did not sprout any potatoes, but that's okay because most of them did, and they're looking pretty happy. Again, no fertilizers, no amendments. I did buy potting soil to fill these bags, but I also added soil from my compost bins. So between those two mediums, these potatoes look pretty happy. They don't seem to need anything else. And as you can see, they're beginning to produce flowers. And that's great because that means that they are beginning to create tubers under the soil cover. So these are all the potatoes in the grow bags. There's my dog, my Pomeranian Pari. exploring the yard. And I have these beds that I have created. They've been there since the beginning, but this year I added the corner posts, these corner concrete blocks, and then these wooden 2x4s, and that helps create this distinct boundary in the garden, so I know which part is being devoted to growing stuff and then which part is path, or more importantly, I'm teaching my dogs to figure that out too. And it also means that when I put down fresh mulch in the path area, I'm able to do it easily and cleanly without letting the mulch spill into the growing space, which was already it already has its own mulch cover that I've put down at the end of last growing season, so there was enough time for the mulch to break down and feed the soil. This is one of the two portable greenhouses that I have put in this space, and the function is primarily to extend the growing season, to start it a little bit earlier than usual, and it's working out really well because I have peppers and basil growing in there alongside some volunteer kale and carrots and whatnot. This is the outer edge of my yard that leads to my tiny home upstairs. It's around 500 square feet. It's a 1-bedroom unit and I love it. It's like the perfect space, the perfect amount of space for me and my 2 dogs.